You know, we're gonna pop in Mondays. I know we go out to let's talk relationships with the Love Snobs.
I'm Jerry.
Yes, I'm Aziz. So today, take it, Jerry.
So today we're going to be talking about survivor's remorse, and not in the typical way that the way that we define survivor's remorse, where we outlived someone or we were in an accident, one person died, we didn't. We're talking about how two people were toxic together. One decided to get their life together, the other one didn't. What does that relationship look like? Is it really hard to sever ties? Why is it so hard to sever ties? So that's what we're talking about today. Yes. And the guilt that comes behind it because you were once there. I think that's the important part about it.
Yeah, I would say that that's the case. So, we're going to do our norm and give people about 5 minutes, 2 more minutes to, connect and see what happens. We have, our consistent people, which we appreciate. We love consistency. So we got guys. We had a couple of people hit us up saying that, they can't make it tonight, which is smooth. Okay, all winter. Yes. We're doing good today. We're doing good. How everybody doing? How everybody doing? Just say what's up.
Hi, guys.
We're going to give it some time. And then, we start having a discussion. But,
So if you guys didn't hear, we're talking about survivor's remorse, but again, not talking about someone dying and you feeling guilty about the death, but about two people connecting and having a toxic relationship. One person, probably being yourself, but you could have been the other person, decides to get their life together and wants the other person to do the same, but they're not. And you are having a hard time severing ties with that person because you were once that person, and how you feel guilty for moving on without them.
Definitely. What's going on, Jess? Welcome.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, Darrell. Hi, Allwinter. Hi, Jasmine.
Yes. What's going on, Vanessa Robinson? We see you. How you doing? She's on Facebook.
She's on Facebook. Hi, Vanessa.
I hit her with the whole name, so.
I know. I hit her with the Vanessa like I know her, like we went to high school together. Like, hey, Vanessa, girl.
What's going on? So today we really want to touch on. I'm gonna let Jerry do her thing, but we really want to just touch on the fact that we tend to feel guilty when we make moves and other people don't make those same moves. And then there's a distance between us because we were there. We were doing some of the negative things. We were being toxic. We were, drinking or whatever it is you thought was toxic at the time. It could have just been the fact that we were stagnant and, wasn't ambitious enough. But regardless of what it was, we tend to hold on to these relationships because we feel guilty because we once were there. So we want to, give them the chance and the time needed to catch up. But,
how much time do you give them? How much, just because you can relate because you were once there, does that mean that you should hold on to the relationship? Does that mean that you guys should still, you should still be around and support that person even though you know better? It gets a little tricky. It could get a little hairy. You may feel a little guilty. You may feel a little hypocritical because you were once there. So I know I've experienced that, and did have any of you guys ever experienced that before? We could start there. Who raised their hand?
Somebody raised their hand, you say?
Yeah, I saw the hand raised, but I don't know who that was.
Well, y'all can just comment in the box. Y'all know how we do. If, we keep a small group, whoever really wants to, that's Jessica. Whoever truly wants to, if anybody wants to get on as a panelist and speak, we can all speak together. If the group remains small, we always like to have these discussions.
So I want to say, yes, absolutely have been there. Could you give an example of what the situation was if you are okay with going into detail or roundabout, basically.
You know, these discussions are really, here so we could really sit back, touch base, really have these discussions and go all out, really dig deep and figure out where we're going. You know, how we're going to grow. I mean, everybody just use grow, but really how we going to actually get to that next level.
She says, sure, I'm dealing with this with my mom right now. That's what Winter said. Okay, and I was going to touch on family. You know, a lot of times when we talk about relationships, we're talking about friendships, but my example that I would share with you at some point tonight is about family as well. And that's important too, because when we decide, you know, family members, especially if we decide to continue to have a relationship with them, is a relationship. So it goes beyond family members. And if you want to have that type of relationship with them, you have to be able to get through certain things and be on the same page. And I think that that's really important. Darrell said, I left a toxic relationship. Some things were my fault, vice versa. Or Winter said, I realized she's not a healthy person. Yeah, that's where it gets tough when you identify the issues based on what you decide to change in your life, and you reflect and you realize, wow, this person was never really in a good place. So that's also something that's hard to deal with as well.
I think this really goes back to our discussion last week about judgment. Like, we're so fearful of condemning people that, you know, we don't actually, somebody's knocking at the door.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a little hesitant, but we so big at, you know, we so hard on ourselves because we don't want to judge people. But once we made the proper assessment, once we decided to take action, I mean, who's better to judge than people who've been there and actually now are in a whole nother place? They actually can show you how to get there. So now when you decide to take those steps and move forward, aren't you the ones that actually can look people in the face and say, if I've done it, you can do it as well? So, I mean, those are things we need to look at. Like, why stay and remain in the toxic relationship? Now, understand, toxic doesn't mean that you don't give them the time to change, or you don't talk to them about change, but they have to say they want to change. You can't force the person to change because you change because you want the relationship bad enough. If they don't want to change, you gotta understand that y'all not on the same page no more, and a tough decision has to be made.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I think Jerry's out of commission because
I had to relocate.
I know you had to move, whoever not.
Yeah, so let me get myself situated. But I'm still listening. I can hear everything you guys are saying.
So, you know, what do everybody think of that? We're moving slow today. I mean, we give it a little bit more time. Whoever wants to be a panelist, you raise your hand and we can do it. Or Winter says, I agree. We only have one life, no time to waste. I mean, that would be up for debate, the one life thing. You know, some people believe in reincarnation, but at the end of the day, I don't know if it's the life wasting as much as it's the connections we build. I mean, do you want to even waste time while you're living? You know what I mean? Like, forget death. This show. Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you.
But,
sorry.
Yeah, I mean.
Realize she's an answer. I'll give. We only have. Sorry, I'm catching up.
I already read all of those, man. So today we're really trying to just wait for people to actually engage, so we can, you know. Oh, we got some people on Facebook.
Yeah, I just left my phone in my old location. I'll be right back.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I agree, Darrell. Darrell said sometimes you're in a situation where you're holding back your partner, you're holding your partner back. And I agree. So you have to leave because the situation could definitely be toxic. And I definitely agree with that.
And then also, Winter said, when you're on purpose, you have to be specific about where your energy goes.
And I agree.
Yeah, that is so true, because, you know, we get so caught up in the numbers, the number of years that we've been friends. We get so caught up in the fact that it's a family member. But when you strip away all of those things, what does a relationship have? So I think that's really important to identify. That's important to know. And the one thing that I've learned throughout time is that if I made the decision to change and I'm no longer living a toxic life, then I have a right to judge. And I have a right to make a judgment call and say, I don't want you in my life anymore if you don't want to move along with me. And it took me a long time for me to realize that, because I felt guilty. Like I didn't always know. Not that I didn't always know better. I didn't always want to do better. And I could relate to the people around me not wanting to always do better. And I think that that's something I had to learn along the way, that once you make those changes and live a better lifestyle, then it's okay to look back and say, hey, I want you to live that better lifestyle with me, or identify when they don't want to live that life with you or connect with you in that way, and you have to make a decision. And not feel guilty about making that decision, because guess what? The same way you made a choice not to live a toxic life, that person is making a choice to continue to live a toxic life. And that's something I had to learn over time. But I used to feel really guilty. I used to feel guilty that not everyone had NIVs around them to help them sort things out, or bounce ideas off of, or, to be that voice of reason. And I felt guilty about that and held on to certain relationships because of that, when they should have a person around them who should be their voice of reason, or we should join forces. If they're friends with me, then why couldn't they be friends with Aziz? You know what I mean? Like, so I was feeling all this guilt and all these weird feelings when they also made a decision.
Definitely. I mean, Vanessa was talking about, we had this discussion with her in one of the other Let's Talk relationships, but, she talked about her partner having to let go of her partner because he claimed he quit smoking, and he didn't quit smoking, so he lied. And then he started, this is on Facebook, if you're looking.
Yeah, I'm looking, yeah.
Yeah. And she basically said she felt guilty for a little while, but then obviously she had to move on, and now she's actually happy that she moved on. So I think regardless, like we tend to minimize things when it's convenient. We tend to, act like emotionally blackmail people when it's convenient, because we don't want to make decisions, or because we make decisions, other people are, trying to guilt us into staying and guilt us into being in certain situations. And we all have been those people that felt that a person was leaving us, or a person was doing something that, making moves in a direction and they weren't taking us. And when we look back on it, we wasn't willing to put in the work to make those decisions, to follow them and go with them. So instead of being happy for them, and instead of understanding that they're moving on because we gonna hold them back, they decided to, we decided to blame them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've been there, and I'm sure, other people have been there, but just because we can identify that we have been there, how many people have changed that, has changed being in that situation or being in that place where they're envious of people for actually progressing. And I'm not talking about positive where people promised you one thing and then they sign off a whole nother thing. I'm talking about where both people aiming to succeed. One person says, oh yeah, I want to be successful, but don't want to put in the work. And then you feel like guilt because you basically put in the work and they didn't put in the work, but then you aren't giving them a chance, or you aren't, putting forth the effort, and you're not helping them, and you're not saving them, and you're not giving them time. And there's a lot of judgment being placed on you, but yet they're talking about you're judging them. You know what I mean? Or you're stopping them. And a lot of people are just stopping themselves, as Jerry was saying, like through the guilt.
It's all a choice. It's all a choice. And instead of really taking the time to mourn the relationship and understand why you feel the way that you feel, like, anybody who ever walked away, it's never easy to walk away, right? So when you make that decision, the other person is thinking you don't care enough, you didn't care enough about the relationship. But if you are really honest about how you're feeling about what's going on, whether you're walking away or decide to stay and not make a choice to do the right thing, it's all something that you should take the time to think about and understand. And instead of really getting caught up in the negative feelings of why a person decided that they wanted to walk away, or why you wanted to stay. Like, it was all good a week ago when she was, in the club drinking with me. Now she's holier than thou. Like, we hear things like that all the time,
Definitely. So, y'all can put in input anytime. Whoever wants to be a panelist, raise your hand, and we could just start a discussion so, we can go a little quicker, because I know sometimes it's hard for people to write and kind of stay engaged at the same time. They want to listen, and then once they're in their keyboard, they can't listen and write at the same time. So I understand it.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Whoever really wants to be a panelist, raise your hand, and, we'll promote you.
Oh, where'd you go?
Nah, I don't see anybody. We're just waiting to see if anybody really wants to, engage. Or Winter, Jessica. I mean, y'all can even write y'all don't want to engage, so we know that y'all not going to do it. Okay, Jessica.
I mean, Winter wrote emojis. I don't really know. I don't know. Not today.
Okay, not today.
I'll jump in. All right, Darrell.
Yeah, my man. We'll let. Okay, Darrell, you win. So yeah, we'll just keep everybody engaged on the side, and y'all can just write regarding this topic. But at this point, I mean, we love snobs. We have an understanding that we want to hold everybody accountable. So sometimes we did make plans, and sometimes we did promise people certain things, and we actually did our own personal. We went on our own personal ventures and decided to do selfish things. And yeah, it does benefit us, but it doesn't benefit everybody. And I would say, I mean, you should probably feel guilty. You should probably have the discussion. You should probably put in more time into trying to get them to where you at. Go back and actually lift somebody up, because you promised them, you promised them support. You promised them you promised a partnership, however the situation or whatever the situation was. But we got to definitely hold those people accountable too, because just because you're doing something positive for yourself, you signed on to be with somebody that you're supposed to be doing positive things with, as opposed to you just doing positive things for yourself. You are breaking a promise, which becomes a negative in the general sense, because you can't.
Oh yeah, it's like going, like we talked about before, like going to Africa to save lives.
Definitely.
But yet
that's your favorite. That's your favorite example.
It's like my example about food. Yeah.
Yeah. Like what he said about going to Africa. I mean, has anybody experienced this where they're like making moves and they realize they're so self-indulged, so they're progressing, but they're really not taking the people that they actually agreed to be in relationships with them. See, Darrell, you got different scenery today. Okay.
Yeah. Just as he got curtains.
See Jerry switch up.
Yeah.
I'm in a different space tonight, so yeah, I got a little different scenery.
Yes. What about Jessica? You ever been in that situation, or Winter? Vanessa? Because y'all know we can go on for days, man. This is what we do. We talk relationships. So we want to engage other people, give them the time. I mean, I know all Winter you was just talking about, having to have a real discussion with your mother, which is a process for anybody. Okay, all Winter. She said yes in my younger years, when I got my first taste of discipline and focus. Yeah. I mean, we all,
So Jessica says, no, I'm struggling relating here tonight. I can only relate to my mother. Well, that's relating to what's going on. I mean, it's a relationship that you have with your mom, so I think that I think it could all tie together. Or what to say, it was all about that in that time. Discipline and focus.
I mean, for Jessica, I mean, going through times, I'm sure you have friends, back in the days, whether it's recent or, younger, I remember when I was young, you know, I was actually borderline and becoming a criminal. I was on the border, and I actually ran the streets with people, and you know, I was a leader out there, so it wasn't like I wasn't empowering people to actually do the wrong things. And I mean, I truly believed in what I was doing. I truly believed in like protecting what was ours, our home, and you know, I had a lot of ignorant ideas of what was loyalty and what was, you know, being committed to other human beings. And, you know, but one thing I noticed is when it was time for me to, you know, change my life around, start going to school a little bit more, because I, you know, I was cutting class and walking out of school, acting like I was going to school, going out the back door, and, you know, a lot of deceitful things. And I wasn't raised to be deceitful. So, you know, I was hurting my mother. I was doing a lot of just my little brothers looking up to me. I'm doing the wrong thing. So it was a lot of people I was hurting in the process. But I promised to be a big brother that was honorable. I promised to be a son that was honorable. And when I was out in the street, I also promised to be a guy in the community that was supporting the community and helping the community. Once I put that in perspective and understood, it was time to like move in a different direction. Once I was asking people who were in the wrong direction with me to go and do the right things, a lot of them didn't come with me. And there were certain people that I literally signed into school because I had the know-how. I had the understanding. My mother did it for me. I picked up the process, and then I did it for other people where I got them back in school, try to get them on the right path and do different things. But, you know, they didn't follow my lead. They stayed in school for a little while, started cutting and doing different things and doing the same thing. And some of them went back out there and I wasn't selling drugs or anything. You know, that's one thing that was embedded in me. Don't destroy a community with poison. But at the end of the day, they went back out there and they did what they did. And there was nothing I can do on that level, but I know that I tried, so the guilt didn't follow me. But while it was going on in the beginning of the process of moving on, a lot of me not wanting to go back to school, not wanting to do all the right things, was the fear of letting everybody down that I kind of coached into this bad environment or this bad lifestyle. You know what I mean? And a lot of them didn't have the support to get past it. A lot of them didn't have the support to recover. So I had to hold on to that for a while where I'm like, yeah, I was wrong for that. But when in actuality, I know I stood up, I sat with them, I did all the things I need to do. I will go over and do their homework. Like I put in the work. So I could look in the mirror after that and say, listen, I try to put y'all in a place to succeed. Whether y'all have parents at home, whether y'all have all these people, when it was time to follow me to do wrong, everything was all good. But when it's time to follow me to do right, now y'all don't even know me and I'm not the leader that y'all thought I was. So at the end of the day, people make choices based on what's convenient for them. It's easy to say I don't have it at home, but when you have the support, and I was diligent, they still didn't take that support and utilize it. So, you know, that would be an example of what I'm saying. I stayed a little longer because of the guilt, because of the survivor's remorse, because I thought, oh, I did this. I chose this. I made this. I influenced this. But when you look at being influential, if it doesn't cross over to the other side when it's positive time and time to move forward and time to move in a different direction, then was you truly the person that influenced this person? Or were they just doing what they truly wanted to do?
So Jessica said, I think the guilt comes from lack of confidence in your decision. Once you gain the self-confidence, the guilt melts away. Yes, it does. I mean, I think, and once you really truly understand why you did what you did, and to Aziz's point, on doing all that you were supposed to do, and doing your part, and making sure that if you guys connected on negativity, and you decide to change the relationship and do something positive, own that, acknowledge that, and I think that that's important as well. So yeah, once you own that part of it, and you acknowledge it, and you have the conversation, and you do all that you can do to bring that other person to the healthy place that you are in, and they still don't, then I think you can walk away not feeling like you're leaving them behind, just knowing that you made a choice, but they also made a choice too.
Definitely. What's going on, Sabu? I see you on Facebook. Yes. What's up, man? But yeah. I mean, that's a definite. And Jessica, a lot of it comes from confidence. I would agree with you. A lot of it comes from not being confident in decisions you make, because all we see is that we're leaving people behind. All we see is that, you know, it's easy to say you're your own person when you're doing the right thing and leaving people behind, but it takes a real person to at least attempt, and we know that. But we're taught to kind of stay in that person's corner and sync with them.
Yeah.
And if you're the captain, or if you're on the ship, and you were promised a destination, and destination changed, I mean, at some point you gotta get off the ship and keep on going to the wrong place just because you're on the ship. So I would agree. You have to be confident in the decisions you make. I mean, what do you think, all Winter? What do you think, Darrell?
Darrell.
Yeah.
I'm letting you all go. So I mean, I've been in a couple situations. First situation is just like so let's just talk about drinking. When I was in college, when I went to my final destination in college, so to speak, I was a heavy drinker. I mean, I played ball. I worked out every day, but I was a heavy drinker. My schedule was, go to practice, go shoot, go lift weights, go to a party. I mean, that's all I did. So throughout all my 20s, I met my ex-wife, and at the time, she was also drinking too. As our relationship evolved, she wanted to stop drinking. So I can understand someone that's like, yo, you used to smoke, now you don't want to smoke no more. So I've been in a situation on the opposite spectrum where she wants to slow down drinking, but I want to continue. You understand what I'm saying? Then it comes to a point where, my moods are changing. I'm drinking daily. Like, it really became a real problem. And to be totally honest with you, I just started to slow down. You understand what I'm saying? Now, there's some aggravating factors I'm not going to get into like that, but I'm saying so I can relate to that. So as far as me being a person, like, I'm the partner who had to catch up. I'm the partner who had to make that drastic change. And because of that helped kind of derail the relationship. So I've been on the other side of holding that partner back because that partner didn't want to do that anymore. So now that my situation is different, my guilt is there. So I got to sit back and say, all right, did I do everything possible to make it work? No, because I chose drinking, or I chose going out with my boys, or I chose, doing this or doing that. I didn't put my family first. So I can say that person from experience.
Well, that's a good example of it being on the other end of it, and you being the person that didn't want to change. And now that the relationship is over, you reflecting back on the relationship thinking, damn, I could have did better. Yeah. And that's the whole point. Like, when we are building relationships with people, the whole point is to give your all, so that if you ever had to walk away, you know that you did your all, and you know that there's no more to give, so you can walk away peacefully knowing that there's somebody else out there for you. So that's another thing as well that we would like to share with our viewers too, that if you don't give your all in a relationship, you're also going to walk away with that type of guilt too.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a process. Go ahead, Jerry. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to just read the comment, but you can.
No, I know. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yes. And so this is from Jasmine. Yes, not to change the subject, but I also think that's why love is so interpretive when it shouldn't be. We are taught to stay in unhealthy situations because we're supposed to care about the people who aren't necessarily caring for us. Big picture, particularly when you make a decision for a change that could also benefit them.
Definitely.
I mean, to even move a step further, so I think, if you talk about vows, it kind of goes back to your point from weeks that I'm listening to as far as your principles. You go back to that, right? When you jump into a relationship, so I don't think some people really understand principles as far as being held accountable, being judged, which leads into your vows. Like, when you take that oath, take that next step. So I think you get into a marriage, or you get into a long relationship, and where problems occur is, no one's taking that part of the relationship as serious until something happens, or until this or until that. That's my experience with that.
Well, yeah, you're right. I think that, before you get married, outside of the altar, you guys should have already established what your principles are and the things that you guys are going to honor. And I think doing it in front of your friends, your family, and the pastor, or whoever is officiating the wedding, that's just the icing on the cake as a reminder. But you guys that should already be embedded in the relationship. And I think that, a lot of people in general don't really take the time to really work out those kinks. They move forward because of a feeling or how a person makes them feel, and because they have other goals in common. But when it all comes down to it, like Aziz and I, we have, we post all the time, and one of the things is, like, are you going to always be transparent? Are you always going to honor your word? Are you always going to show up? Are all those things that we kind of take for granted, and realize it's an issue when it's not happening. But is that something that you live in every day? And I think that those are things that are really important within a relationship.
Definitely. Or when they say I've been guilty of being weak and passive at times when I should have been truthful. To at least give the person a chance to see what you've seen in the relationship. So you're seeing in the relationship. So back to basically what she's saying is back to what Darrell was saying. If you start the relationship off with, let's say, both people are drinking, we always use the analogy, and I mean, we go a step further. Both people are using heavy drugs, and they start the relationship off because that's what makes them compatible. We always tell the person who stopped using the drugs is the person who hurt the relationship, even though they helped the relationship, because that's what connected the two people. Now, we don't promote a relationship that's a codependency. Definitely not. So you started your relationship off with a codependency. So it's destined to fail if one person decides to do better. But as long as the codependency becomes the commonality within the relationships, it's going to succeed. And so many people are together 20 years, 30 years because of that, because they have the codependencies as the foundation of their relationships. So your wife, in your example, really didn't want to continuously go down that road. You know, y'all probably met when y'all was a little younger. She started looking at her life. She started assessing the situation. She's like, yo, listen, I'm gonna stop drinking. You're looking like, okay, instead of saying, okay, I'm gonna follow your lead, you're looking like, yo, you're not gonna control what I do and don't do. So you still trying to hold on to individuality. Yeah, did she hurt the relationship, or did she take from the relationship by actually giving to the relationship? Of course. She took the codependency away. She took what y'all connected on the way, and she now said, I want more. And that's something before y'all committed, y'all should have had established. That's something before y'all committed, y'all should have looked at and actually didn't move forward until y'all situated things that will be long-term.
Right. She evolved, and I wasn't willing at that time to evolve with her.
Definitely.
And so when you remove the situation, when you remove all that, and we're done, right? So at some point, I feel like I had to say to myself, you got to look in the mirror. She has to look in the mirror too for some things that she's done as well. But I had to look in the mirror, and once you look in the mirror and you honestly ask yourself, what did you contribute to the toxic relationship? I didn't evolve. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that, and she was she was done that point. And then I can take it a step further. So I got friends right now. You know, thank God for the quarantine in certain aspects, because they make you realize what is your friendship really about. I got friends right now that, since we can't go to the bar, or we can't go drink, or we can't go this or that, they don't even call me no more. So like, I really had to sit back and think to myself, like, yo, so only thing we have in common is not basketball. It's not going to the park. It's not going to go train for this 10-mile race that I do every year. It's alcohol. If you take alcohol out of this equation, we're not even friends. So what are we?
Drinking buddies. Drinking buddies. You have, y'all start your relationship on codependency, and y'all let it be the device that actually connected y'all. And people feel strong when they doing wrong together. I mean, I've been there. You know what I mean? You walk up to somebody, you harm them, and y'all did that together. Y'all like brothers now. Are you truly? Are you truly brothers when you're doing negative things and putting each other in bad situations? I mean, that's what we really need to ask ourselves. And some people need to take the chance to move forward and make decisions.
My dad taught me when I was in high school that, I used to cut class. So, classes, like I just used to go to school and just never go to class. And I was rolling, and I had a girl that I was hanging tight with. And, my dad used to always tell me that if one of you guys decide to go to class or go to school and do the right thing, do you think that you guys are going to remain friends? And I looked at my dad like he was crazy. And I was like, of course you're going to be friends.
We all do.
Yeah, like, of course, like, what do you know? Like, you old, like, when was the last time you've been in high school,
You don't
and I gave
friends, right?
Word, yeah, like, you got like two friends, like, what do you know?
Definitely.
And so I didn't really take his advice, but I always remembered it, because he was right. The minute that one of us decided that we were going to do the right thing, it created a gap within our relationship. And so, and although we try to hold on to certain things, the reality was we didn't have a big part of it, a big part of our relationship. We didn't have it in common anymore.
Definitely.
So I I always tell him to this day that he was right. Always parents always want to hear when they're right. So or acknowledge. Everyone should always. Everybody should always acknowledge.
Come on.
Yeah,
Don't
you're
backwards.
right.
Don't backslide.
Everyone should always be acknowledged. Everyone should always acknowledge when they are right. And as a kid, when you're speaking to your parent, you don't always want to reflect and say, "Damn, daddy, 20 years ago." I'm telling my age, right? However many years ago, you were right about what you said. But I always, to this day, remind him about him giving me that life lesson that I wasn't ready to take at the time. And I pass that advice on to my daughter as well. I mean, I'm a different parent, so we have different conversations, but I still,
that was embedded in her from day one.
Yeah.
We talk about relationships since she was young, so, she's well-versed versus you.
Yeah.
It was like one of them things, you're in the moment, we're already friends, now you come in saying this after we've been friends for about 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. We've been holding tight for like 3 years, and now you want to tell me that if one of us goes to class? Yeah. So, yeah, but it's still advice that I appreciate to this day, and I will never forget it because it plays back in my mind all the time. As I'm dealing with current relationships, past relationships, why I'm not as close to certain people, I always hear my dad saying, once somebody does right, and he didn't even say that person was going to be me. He said, if my friend went to class, would you guys still be as tight? You know what I mean? So he was just saying when you break the negative bonds, there's something's going to change. So you guys will probably have a longer lasting relationship if you guys connected on positivity.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we tell all of our builders from day one. Like, your foundation is what's going to decide your relationship. It's not going to be us. It's not going to be even you. It's going to be your foundation.
Yeah.
How long can your foundation hold up through the test of time?
Mm-hmm.
And if you build your foundation on something that's not strong, 9 times out of 10, y'all can survive in a house that, busts a leak and is muddy, and you can do it as long as you want, but your house is not going to be up to par. You're going to struggle. You're going to look at relationships as the worst thing, as a job. You're always going to downplay relationships. When people are around you, you're going to be miserable. So you got to look at what it does to you as a human being. You can stay around, but you got to really look at how many long-term relationships really lift you up and really encourage you and challenge you. Because, you can nag all day. You can feel nag, but when somebody's telling you the right thing, and if you feeling like they're nagging you, 9 times out of 10 you aren't ready to take the message. 9 times out of 10 you're not equals. So you need to start looking at them as equals.
A lot of times they feel like you're being nagged. That means the person's telling the truth, but you just ain't trying to hear it.
Definitely, you ain't trying to hear what they got to say, and just to
or you're not or you just don't want to change.
Right.
Definitely, just to add to what All Winter was saying, I think she brought up a good point. I'm like, if when she was saying how she's been the person who was weak and passive. Now, I'm thinking like that's abuse in its own. You know what I mean? Like, you have to acknowledge that as abuse, and we have to say it, because that nobody wants to be around somebody that they on borrowed time at all times. Now, bad enough relationships are borrowed time, because that's what we always say. It's all about how much you want to invest and put in. Once the investment goes down, the relationship's over. So you're always investing daily. You have to make sure you maintain a relationship daily. If you're not willing to put in the work daily, then you're not ready for a committed relationship. But when somebody's just gliding and they're being passive and they're being, as she put it, weak, I wouldn't necessarily say weak, but they're being politicians, they're being very passive, don't really want to get into conflict, and they're just buying time. And then eventually the resentment's going to build. Eventually the anger's going to build. Eventually they're going to speak out. And then that person's going to look at them like, hey, you've been a mute for about 5 years. And they're going to look at you like, because you decided to talk, now all of a sudden we need to hear what you're saying. Like, you've been a mute for 5 years. Go back in the corner and be who you are. Stay in your lane. And most people will look at that and say, yo, that person's wrong. But when you look at it, that's who you've been for 5 years. So now you're trying to step up, and they're looking at you like, yeah, you're pushing me away. Yeah, you should have had a voice from the gate. Also, you started that relationship off wrong. And you were actually the abuser for being passive aggressive, being passive in a nutshell, because you should join relationships. You should join relationships because you want to invest all of you, all you have. And that also means the convictions. That means convictions more than anything else, which is going to cause conflict because you got to find ways to compromise. And that's the joy of relationships, man. When you enter a relationship and it's a real relationship, the joy of it is finding ways we got to compromise to become a unit and not be individuals anymore. And that's the tough part, but that's the necessary part.
And
Jessica, thank you. She said she
and
liked the analogy.
And to add to Aziz's point, like if you decide that you want to, be present and use your voice, then that has to be acknowledged before you start using your voice. Like you have to say, usually I'm the one in the corner, not really saying what I really feel or not sharing my thoughts with you, but I realize that that's not going to bring us any closer. So I want to change who I am and I want to do ... And I think that that's really important too, that you just don't start, running your mouth. That's the easy way. And then, someone could say, well, damn, now all of a sudden you can talk. Or you can say, you can go in saying, hey, I haven't been this person before, but I realize that this is not going to help us get any closer. So this is who I want to be going forward. I think a lot of times people,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said I think a lot of people change certain things and they don't want to acknowledge the change. They just want to just jump in and expect everyone to just, embrace it and move on. But it doesn't always work that way when you're changing the construct of a relationship.
So I agree with what Aziz said when he said, all right, if you weren't, basically what you're saying is, if you weren't vocal from the beginning and now all of a sudden you want to be vocal, you hurt the relationship because it's like, oh, okay, now all of a sudden you want to be brave. What if you just evolved into that person? What if it took some time to evolve and say, you know what, I'm not going to keep being quiet. I'm going to speak up. What if I evolved into that person that wants to be vocal?
Wait up. So
okay.
What are you saying is that you went to sleep mute and woke up evolved? Because that don't make sense to me. Like the evolution takes time and it takes a bunch of discussions. So wouldn't your partner or wouldn't your friends know that, listen, I really want to start being more vocal. I've been selling y'all short. So over time that's built, but out of nowhere.
Okay.
You ever had somebody like the
comes
voice
across as
from the great beyond? Like I'm having a discussion with this person and this person all of a sudden now has a voice. And you're like, wait up.
Wait, who are you again?
Like you're gonna shut them down. And everybody looking around you like, yo, how you're gonna be the villain, definitely, but you're within your right because you're like, this ain't even who you are.
Yeah.
Versus somebody like over time saying, yeah, I want to evolve, I want to change, I want to change this. So now the change is coming. That's why we're big on communication. That's why we're big on sharing your thoughts. That's why we're big on having a discussion. We're never saying, yo, mute a person, but like, is the time to show up is when I'm auditioning. I get the lead role. I'm doing my thing, and then the guy from behind the curtains come and want to take the lead role. I mean, how does that make sense? Let's be honest. We all have friend groups. We all have different personalities within those friend groups, and we all have a certain way that all these friends groups flourish, and who you are in all the places you go. I've been a person who out in the street or hanging with my friends, I've been very vocal. And then went home and I realized I'm the son. I have a place. Like there's a different dynamic in my household. You know what I mean? I'm a different person in my household. And then I've been other places where I'm a whole different person. I done walked in rooms where I'm never not the smartest person in the room. So I'm sitting back taking in information. So we all need to know who we are. Like we always talk about, know who you are in the room. But at the same time, know who you are in your relationship and really truly see if you're happy with that. Like we said before, relationships flourish because we're maintaining this for a lifetime. So be the person you want to be for a lifetime. Stop looking for growth and evolution all the time. Like it's hard enough to maintain who y'all are and maintain a group. Like one thing we was talking about, and I know we had this discussion, me and Jerry was sitting and watching a movie. We was watching, what's that show? I wasn't watching it, but Jerry was watching it. What's the show?
I'm gonna watch it.
It's the show that's Blackish, it's all connected.
Black as F.
Okay, so She's sitting there watching that show, and obviously I'm coming in, I'm always asking her why she's watching certain things, because I really want to understand why she does what she does, because I like to understand what's going on. I don't like mindlessness, but I don't mind you do anything you want, just be mindful of what you're doing, right? But I was explaining to them, you see, Blackish sounds like mixes, sounds like, what's the other one, Grownish, sounds like, he found something and he kept doing it over and over and over again. He didn't evolve, he didn't grow, it stayed the same. And he's doing this, it's similar content, but it's making waves. Why? Because repetition is what people learn from. And once you find your niche, Tyler Perry, once you find your niche, you do it over and over again. That's what a relationship should look like. That's success. Okay. You find your niche, you do it over and over again. People will look at y'all, how y'all go to the same restaurant, how y'all eat the same things, how y'all finish each other's sentences. You know why? Because we perfected a dance. That's what it's about. All these people looking to grow, they're growing themselves right out of relationships. Like, yeah, evolve into better human beings, work hard at it, but you spend enough time working to maintain your relationship with everybody from the outside attacking it. Everybody from the outside having opinions about it. Your job, there's so many things that go on that you just got to maintain who you are. You got to have that same passion you came in with. And you spending time growing, like you reading 20 books. Like, you could read books together, but if that's what y'all been doing, but you got to really start thinking about it. I'm not telling people to stifle their relationships. No way, no how. But what I'm telling people is go in and commit with the best of who you're going to be. Figure it out. Don't commit until you're the best of who you're going to be, so people can recognize you tomorrow. Because a lot of people waking up a whole different person tomorrow.
Well, yeah, and also sign up for things that you can actually maintain and not be resentful because you signed up for it. So I think that that's really important. And like we said before, signing up for some things that are toxic, like really think about, like, how long could you guys be toxic together? Like, how long could you really drink heavy? Well, how long could you guys go to the bar?
Listen, we live in a community, but we see it all the time. That's why we're here.
We see it.
I mean, because you just brought up the notion of drinking. I mean, personally for me, you go to a doctor and your doctor say what's really going on inside of you. I mean, so just to your point of how long can you drink or how long can you do this and do that, when stuff hits the fan, like, so I really just felt what you just said, Jerry. 100%.
Yeah, you're saying how long you could do it till you die.
Well, but that's but I was coming from.
Life do you want?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was coming from, like a health perspective. Like, yeah, like how long are you going to continue to feel good if you're drinking all the time?
Like we're clear on our message. Our message is not the normal. It's not normal. It's healthy. It's equal. So we're looking for quality. I can't tell you what your equal is. You got to know your equal. So when we're having a discussion, is she your equal? Are they your equals? Can you be yourself around them? Can you share your thoughts with them as raw as possible? Because when you're talking to an equal, they hear what you're saying. They don't care about your tone. They care about why you're saying it. They want to understand why you're saying it. They're too busy trying to get an understanding of what you're going through and understanding what's going on. They don't care about tone and you yelling and doing all that. They care about what's going on with you. They care about connecting. They care about, is this hurting us? They care about progress. When you're on that path to walk towards the right direction, it's endless. Right is endless. There's always somebody coming to like pull you down, but doing the right thing it's an endless job. You cleaning forever. Mm-hmm. Anybody that cleans a house knows it's a nonstop job. Mm-hmm. They know it. I don't know anything that is clean that's not a constant.
Well, you have to maintain it.
Definitely. And that's what we're talking about.
Unless it becomes a mess.
That's what we're talking about. And when it becomes too much of a mess,
we don't want to deal with it.
You wish you had the naggers to say, clean this up. You'll take that glass in the kitchen right away. So the mess doesn't pile up and then you looking around you like, I really don't feel like cleaning this. So it just gets worse. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of relationships, and that's a lot of relationships being passed on. That's a lot of messages being passed on. I was told that at a young age. We made it. We have all these years. sat down and heard the stories of my elders, and I'm like, you went through all of that?
Mm-hmm.
But they wear it with a badge of honor. And I looked at them and I said the hard thing. And my family, they don't feel me, but I say the hard things like, yo, I'm gonna be honest, I'd rather be single than go through that. I'd rather be single than go through all of that. So if that's what it takes, I really don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
Really what I want is life is coming at me too much for me to add to that. We in each other's lives, we building something powerful. So when people talking about growth, if you're talking about building, that's different. But eventually we gotta live in the house.
Yeah.
Right. I definitely
So
feel
once we build it, we gotta maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely feel that. Being an assistant principal, being in education, dealing with kids every single day, the last thing I would want to do is go home and have to argue and fight about this, fight about that. You know what I mean? Your home's supposed to be your foundation. It's supposed to be your sanctuary. I definitely understand that. It's the last thing you want to do is come home or come with your significant other and have to argue and fight about stuff. 100%.
Well, you don't want to argue and fight about stuff that's gonna still keep you on separate sides of things anyway. Like that's the arguing that's the arguing that's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? But we are gonna have tics and we are gonna have disagreements and we are gonna have discussions and conflicts. But when you're arguing about things and you know that you guys are still gonna end up on separate sides of the coin, then it's not productive. So I can understand that.
Yeah, and all winter you said you feel the same way. What are you really discussing? Like, what do you feel the same way about?
You talking to me?
No,
all winter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And Jazz, we sorry we missed all your, because you made a good point too.
I'm referring to what you were just speaking on.
Oh. No, I mean, what aspect of it? I mean, I done said a lot. I done said a mouthful. I done said a mouthful, but while all winter, adds on to that, I want to just touch on Jasmine's point about, the house situation. And she was saying, like, you spending more time trying to cover the mess and clean the mess, and it becomes counterproductive as opposed to, actually
addressing the problem.
Yeah, actually addressing the problems as they come, working as a team to make sure you maintain the relationship, make sure you maintain. I mean, that's how we always look at a relationship. A relationship is like a house, a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
You got to maintain everything. It's yours. You know what I mean? You're not renting it. It's yours. So you got to maintain it. If you build a strong foundation through all weather conditions, especially in New York, you'll survive. If you budget everything right, what's going to happen? You're not going to foreclose. You're not going to, get kicked out your house. What's going to happen? If you fix the sink when the sink breaks, if you fix it, if you make sure, okay, we had this for 10 years, it's supposed to be replaced after 10 years, you maintain it. You're perfecting the dance. You replace it.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't go anywhere. Oh, rather be single, yeah.
She said, so old winter said that I'd rather be single than go through the BS our elders think it's just things we should go through in a relationship.
Definitely. I mean, we've been, like we said last week, we've been conditioned to hurt. Pain has become a norm. Struggle has become a norm, and it's become a badge of honor. It's a badge of honor if you struggle.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, if you and your significant other haven't gone through some stuff, then you guys really don't love each other. And not just the toxic, the back and forth, the anger, the betrayal, the lack of trust, like all that stuff. People think that is what makes up a loving relationship.
Yeah, I mean, and I know people couple that come in dancing, kissing, enjoying each other's company. 10 years later, they still hugging, kissing, enjoying each other's company. And people literally, they don't really know what love is. And you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? They didn't really go through nothing yet. What? Like the maintenance of, like we always ask, if we're forgiving everybody, who's holding the world up? Like, why are we not supporting the people holding the world up, creating the standards?
Yeah, supporting the people.
Relationships is not all about, the success of a relationship is not all about how long you stayed in it. The success of a relationship is how long you can maintain the greatness of the relationship.
I agree with that.
And do you wake up every day wanting to? I've been in relationships, and to be honest, I've been in relationships where I didn't want to no more.
Mm-hmm.
Soon as you don't want to, don't feel guilted into staying.
Yeah.
There's other means. You still have the discussion, and hopefully I build a relationship off of the right foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But this goes back to the survivor's remorse. Like, why are you so afraid of telling somebody you don't want to be somewhere you don't want to be?
Mm-hmm.
That's already a toxic relationship. Once you tap out, it's toxic. I don't care if you had the right to. I don't care if the person's been there for you this whole time. And you gotta make decisions. And I wouldn't recommend you walking away from somebody who supported you, because that grass looks greener.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, if you're gonna be a toxic person in that person's life, I mean, you gotta make moves. That's what love would be at that particular time. Walking away.
Well, I also think another thing to be mindful of is, we've all been there where we broke up with someone and they want to get back with you, right? And you look back on a relationship and you think, I know that you would benefit from having me back in your life, but am I really going to benefit from having you back in my life? And I think that, knowing that and understanding that will help you sift through the nonsense and realize that maybe you guys are not meant to be. But a relationship is give and take. Like, you should be able to be with someone that is going to benefit, you're going to benefit them, and they're also going to benefit you as well. And I think a lot of people don't ever really want to admit that, acknowledge that, but that's the reality. And I know I've told that to people before, and they looked at me like I thought I was like something was wrong. But that was the truth, though. Like, I wasn't willing to start a relationship with someone that I didn't think that I was going to benefit as much as they were. And not even just benefit overall. Like, I was a better fit for them than they were for me.
So, yeah, I mean, we always also say is honesty is what's in the moment. Honesty is being truthful, being honest in the moment. The truth is what comes from the discussion from you being honest. So that's the truth. Like, you can't find truth just on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You got to search for it. And in doing that, you start the discussion with honesty. At some point, I didn't know I had big lips, because everybody around me had big lips. Like, I didn't know. You walk outside, you start looking at different people's lips, and you're like, well, you got big lips. You got to investigate. So you understood why people were calling you big lip boy. Before, you're just hurt. Oh, he's calling me. You crying. You're taking a hit. You're losing confidence, and everybody's blaming them for telling the truth. Oh, it was wrong. Don't say that to him because I'm crying. But I learned, like, look in the mirror and love what you have. You know what I mean? I'm not going to change that. And now I'm older, and it's kind of a good thing, right? But when I was young, the list was a little too big for my face. The point is, people pointed it out, and kids are honest. We stripped them of that early, because all the teachers told them to stop. I actually believe that's what made me who I am today. You get what I'm saying? The fact that I was able to embrace the honesty because I want it. Like, now I walked around with a different set of confidence. I learned what confidence truly is. I look in the mirror and I can see who I am. I can see myself. I can see myself compared to the rest of the world. And that's what makes me confident, that I have a great understanding of what's going on around me. So, that's what I would recommend people to do. Really, truly understand who you are in these relationships. Because everybody's, I hear toxic people telling me that people are toxic. All the time. I'm looking at them like, yo, there's no way in hell.
That's tough.
All the time. And who do you think got to be the one to say something? I'm looking at them like, yo, you toxic. Like, what are you talking about? Y'all compatible because you toxic and they toxic. So drama is just what y'all need to be in. Because y'all separate, just gonna take two people down with y'all. You know what I mean? And we gotta have the dialogue. And that's just the honesty. I'm not saying that they can't make the adjustment. I'm not saying they can't change. I'm saying honesty in a moment allows them to decide if they want to make that change.
Yeah.
Gives them choice. True choice is through honesty. Everybody, let's be honest, people, everybody done been tired, came to bed, got that little rollover where the person next to you want to do something.
The thyroid.
Yeah. And you like, oh my God, I'm either too tired, really don't want to do it. You know, like we all been there. Anybody that's lived life and been in relationships, we experienced all kinds of things. You know, I've been told, go take a shower, like you stink. Like we've been there. But it's the honesty that helped me get clean. It's the honesty that didn't make me resent the person because I went through with the act, because I was tired, but I went through because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to make them feel rejected or unattractive. That's something within our heads. We could easily say I'm tired, wake up the next morning, give a stronger explanation, and say, you know, we're going to make a date for this. We could easily rectify it. We could easily still instill self-confidence and be honest at the same time. You know what I mean? So you don't have to survive and feel remorseful for surviving in these relationships that are unhealthy. All you got to do is start the dialogue to make it healthy. You don't even have to lead a person. We're not even talking about leaving a person behind. We're talking about leaving the bad habits behind. And anybody that wants to grow, as what Darrell was saying, he didn't want to grow, so everything fell apart. But
hold on, let me rephrase that because
he said that was one of the reasons, right?
That was one of the reasons. Excuse me. He didn't want to evolve. That was one of the reasons. Up, man. That seemed like a big reason, though.
Yeah, that is a big reason.
I'm telling you the truth. Like, what else could have possibly transpired besides that? Like me and you together. Now I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but me and you together. You drinking and I'm doing all the things right. You still a problem. Like that's some truth for you. Like, I mean, you can tell your side of the story. I get it, but whatever she would have did to correct whatever she was doing, you still had that issue.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, I mean, I know I would have walked out. So, regardless of, you could have been doing everything right and just had that going for you.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Something like that. Like, so that was an issue. It wasn't necessarily the issue, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, you got it.
For your relationship, I'm sure, you know, because drinking was something y'all started on, so it wasn't a big issue. But in the general sense, that destroys, I mean, a relationship quick.
No doubt.
Because you choosing alcohol over, you choosing alcohol over everything else.
Mm-hmm. And it's influencing your decisions, and you know, when you're under the influence, you're making erratic and stupid decisions that you wouldn't normally make if you were sober. Yeah. So I mean, it definitely all ties in together. I just wanted to make sure for the record, because we're being recorded right now, that it was that it wasn't that it was an issue. It wasn't the issue. So.
Definitely. Well,
got it.
It may be the issue, but we'll dive into that another time.
But to Tazi's point is really about having that discussion, regardless of how you want to. When you are making any change in the relationship, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you have to start it off with a conversation. If you were once quiet and you want to use your voice now, have the conversation. If you were drinking, don't want to drink anymore, have the conversation. If someone stopped drinking and you want to drink, have the conversation and be honest about why you don't want to do what you want to do. But it all goes back to having that conversation. And the more you talk about it, the less guilty you feel about it, the more confidence you'll have, like Jessica said. And if you decide to move forward, or if you guys decide to move forward together, there won't be no resentment, there won't be any guilt, and you guys truly understand why you feel the way that you feel, and it wasn't driven by emotion.
Definitely. And All Winter says she has to go. We had a great discussion, another one.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. You know, we appreciate it all, but back to what Jerry was saying, I do agree. Like, I agree that this is let's talk relationships. Mm-hmm. You need to wake up every day willing to talk, ready to talk, ready to have the discussions. Like, you're watching TV, really sitting next to a partner you really know, you don't know at all, or you don't even know their thoughts. Like, Number one TV show should be the people you're around's thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It's the number one thing that should entertain you. Figure out what's going on in their minds. And if it's not something that intrigues you on a regular basis, 9 times out of 10, you really got to start looking at your surroundings. Because I even do it. Me, Jerry, and Jazz, 2 days ago, just had a discussion. Like, I'm like, I can't keep on having discussions about women's products. And, you know, like, we got to have deeper discussions here. Like, I'm tuned out. And then if I walk around, I'm the mute guy. Y'all looking at me like something's wrong. So we're not just telling people, you know, we're not just saying you can't have it. You can't have those discussions. Or we're not saying, you know, walk away all the time. We're just saying have the discussions. We're not exempt. Have them.
Mm-hmm.
Have those discussions on a regular basis.
So for people who don't, so like for me, for example, as far as my experience, I mean, there have been times where I would come home, she would come home. We didn't say a word to each other until we got into the bed. You know what I'm saying? I'm on my cell phone, or she's watching TV, or we're crossing paths, and we're not even speaking to each other. So to your point, it got to a point where we was just roommates. Both of us paying bills.
Definitely.
The love is not, you know, you want the love to be there, obviously, but it doesn't feel like it's there. You just crossing paths like you two strangers living in a household, paying rent. And the only thing that's different is, you know, you're just combining your money so you don't get kicked out the place. I mean, so I've definitely been there before where you just, like, the relationship is not meaningful. You know, we're not having deep conversations. You know, we're not talking about doing things together. I'm talking about what I'm doing Friday night when I get off work. I'm going to happy hour or something. You're talking about go hang out with your girls on Saturday. It's football Sunday. I'm out all day long watching my Redskins. There's no time, or we didn't make time for our foundation.
Definitely. I mean, that's real. That's real. I lost track of the faith. Love is the faith you have to maintain on a daily basis. Lose track of the faith, lose track of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The faith is the most important thing. What you gonna put in? It's the investment.
But that's the example of not communicating and what happens when you stop communicating.
It's all about effort. Yes, it is, Jess. It's all about effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about time, effort, being effective, being, you know, useful with your time. Because as you get older, you understand you have kids, you work 8-hour shifts. Sometimes you gotta, you know, y'all gotta work different shifts. You know, and there's a lot of things that have to happen. But if you put the family first, you look your employees in the face sometimes and say, listen, like, my family comes first. You can chase money, or you can figure out different means of making money where your family, you know, can still see you. There's choices that have to be made with everybody. Right. And we was talking about it earlier, like, I watch a lot of presidential shows and things of that nature because I like the fact that they got to make hard decisions. And the American people are expecting to make hard decisions. So it goes to show a lot of people don't want to make those same decisions. They want to criticize them, right, but they don't want to make them same decisions. In your marriage, you're the president. Y'all share it.
Yeah.
You got to make hard decisions all the time. Are we going to take our child for a walk? Are we going to be able to rush them to the hospital? You know, are we going to have another one? Like, once you go in, there's no turning back. That's another kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are decisions that have to be made, and they're lifetime decisions. And the fact that some people feel they could just roam and walk out, it's crazy to me. You know, so, like, those are things that I'm saying, like, make decisions that you can live with. Don't be afraid, and don't now out of nowhere say, I was forced into this idea.
Right. Well, to your point, some people may feel like, and it's more to your point, some people may feel like, I like the idea of being in a relationship.
Definitely.
Yeah, of course.
The idea of being married, but when I'm actually in it, you know, that's the wrong part. You know, what am I in this for? Do I feel like putting in the work to be in it? And I'm saying that to tell people that, you know, there was a period of time where I was that guy before. You know, you like the idea of this. You know, there was a quote that I saw that some people are ready to have a wedding, but they're not ready to be married.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Well, it's also realizing what you like. You can like the idea of being married, but exactly what ideas do you like about the marriage, you know? Or going in knowing what type of parent you want to be, and owning that and being convicted in that, and finding a partner that believes the same thing. Like, you'd be surprised, something just as simple, it's not simple, I don't want to downplay it, but discipline. You believe in disciplining your kid one way, and your significant other decides that they believe in, not decides, they believe in discipline in another way. And once the child, and then you guys think it's not a big deal, get together, and you realize that that's a big strain on the relationship, you know? So it's really going into every relationship knowing exactly what you want, your deal breakers, your likes, your dislikes, what you bring to the table. Like, there's just so many things that you should know about yourself and who you are when you are with other people that should be discussed ahead of time, so that you know that, so that you could feel confident that you're making these lifelong decisions with another person that actually believes in the same thing.
Yeah. Like Jessica was saying, like, so many times you think not to put in the effort because the other person's not putting in effort, and then they keep in score.
Yeah, then it becomes
But we all keep score. Like, that's what I mean about just being honest about the relationship. We all keep in score because we all making sure we put in an investment, we should be getting something out of the investment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're talking personal relationships, people you actually pick to be in your life. And too many times we mix up humanity and personal relationships. Like, we tolerate other people, so we have to be tolerant of differences. We have to tolerate differences because we occupy space with other people that we don't know, with strangers. So it's important to be well-versed in understanding that when you leave the house, you're going to interact with people that you possibly don't like, care for, or you possibly are different. But when you join a relationship, you're walking the same path. That's the key. So it's to keep everybody on that same path. Where are we going? You don't just jump in the car. I mean, some people, I guess, do. But you just jump in the car, don't know where you're going? You hail a cab, don't know where you're going?
When Jessica was talking about keeping score, you know, the first thing I thought of was just like looking for validation and just being negative, like just looking for all the areas where you went wrong, so that you can have a one up.
So like tit for tat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it becomes a tit for tat instead of being productive within the relationship and the conflict, because you can still be productive within conflict.
Or you can feel like, I'm doing the investing, I'm putting in the work, I'm trying. Then your partner is not giving the same, or is not holding a day into the bargain, and that can cause you to feel like, you know what, it's done. If they don't care, why should I?
Yeah.
Like Jazz was saying, I mean, this is a cheap shot, it looked like, but nah.
Oh, that's why you was laughing so hard over there.
Yeah.
So funny.
She was like when somebody likes crumbs on the sheets. You're now on the same page. Something like crumbs in the bed becomes the biggest thing. So the foundation has to be there, because if it's not, big things become, small things become big things, basically. So, yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true.
But like you said about tolerating, though, when you really feeling somebody, it's the beginning. Like, you sleep on the crumbs.
Yeah, well, back in the days, she thinking she feels the crumbs. Back in the day, she feel crumbs, and I didn't feel crumbs because I was fully clothed. I got pajamas on. You know what I'm saying? Jasmine likes to sleep with shorts on. You know what I mean? Tank tops. So she wants to feel everything that's on the bed sheets. So it's really that would be a matter of perspective. But I'm saying I wouldn't like no crumbs on no bed, but I wasn't feeling them. She was able to always feel them and tell me to get up and wipe the joints off back in the days. So I get it. Because I agree with her 100%. If I slept the way she slept, I wouldn't like crumbs on the bed neither. But it could turn to a big thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's in the beginning it turns is a joke, but then when you're really not feeling somebody, it becomes like a.
That's what she said.
It's an issue.
You start having arguments about crumbs on the bed, but it's really about
how you really feel. How you really truly feel. You're looking
for a way it's the other person's fault, or you're looking for a way to validate what you're doing, or
Looking
It
for
just
a
becomes
scapegoat.
tit for attack, like you just
Looking-
said, keeping score.
Looking for a scapegoat.
Yeah, keeping score. But you know, we all gotta look at things and look at a crumb on the bed can be a reason to leave a relationship. Who knows? The point is you have to really, really look at what your pros and your cons, look at what you're putting in, what you're taking away. Because it's important to know that. If you don't know that, you know, you stay in these relationships going round and round, and then what happens?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you definitely in the survivor's remorse.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But it's been a lovely talk. We want to thank Jessica, all winner, Jasmine.
Yeah, Jasmine,
Well,
and the people on Facebook.
You know what I mean? People on
Vanessa,
Facebook, Babu, Vanessa. You know,
Caroline, Kizzy,
yeah. Thanks for joining
Berlin,
the discussion.
Francisco, Warren.
Thanks for joining the discussion. We appreciate it.
Yeah, see you guys next Monday.
Next
at
Monday.
9.
Yeah, show up at 9 so you can get the full, the full show.
Yeah.
We can really get engaged.
All right, take care, y'all, man. Have a good
All
night.
right, bye.
Thanks
Have
for
a
being
nice night,
consistent,
guys.
brother.
Yes.
No doubt.
Bye.
No doubt.